Hello, welcome back to the Waffle Press TV Hangouts. I believe this is our 20th episode. I forget the order I put them up in. So if that's
Oh,
the
hey,
case,
hey.
hooray! We did 20 of these things. If not, we'll probably do 20 of these things. So
I'd say so.
preemptive celebration. Yeah, there we go. Um, I am your host, Diego Crespo, and with me I have,
And Mighty Sophia.
thank you for joining me again.
But of course.
You happen to review lots of shows, Emily, and we were
Yes.
going to talk about Hannibal today, and I screwed up and I didn't watch last week's episode,
It's
but
okay.
you watched last week's episode, and you happen to review every episode that comes out for that magnificent show.
Yes. Yes, I have. So you can find me at M Mighty Sophia, which is EM, the word mighty, and then SOFIA is how you spell Sophia. So yeah, I think I've been reviewing Hannibal since the first season, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty crazy. So yeah, you can find all the reviews there and True Detective also, which we'll talk about here today. But yeah, pretty much a lot of TV happenings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First off, I'm just going to get my Netflix pick of the week out of the way, and then we'll discuss sad Hannibal news since we can't talk about the episode. Again, my bad. And
It's
then
okay.
True Detective, because that started up again, and we're pretty big fans of that show. All right, but first off, my Netflix pick of the week. How we do this is each week, Emily or I will switch off, take turns, and recommend a TV show, occasionally a movie, because there's only so many TV shows you can watch on Netflix.
I'm gonna run out at some point in the
Yeah,
next
I know
couple
I am
months.
too. But how it works is we recommend one to you, and then we just switch off back and forth, and we have fun like that. And it helps us get aware of other quality television as well. Like last week's pick for Emily was Peaky Blinders, which I have in my queue, near the top of the queue now, because I've heard so many good things about that. Your recommendation was the nail in the proverbial coffin, and now my Netflix pick of the week is Buffy the Vampire Slayer, because I was told it was going to be taken off of Netflix in March, so I was like, there's no point in recommending it if it's just going to be taken down.
Right.
But it wasn't. It's still there, like right now.
Hmm.
So people lied to me, and I'm just so hurt. Um,
There's
yeah,
been a lot of lies, I have to say, because I heard that Twin Peaks was going to be leaving Netflix, which is also in my queue. Like all these classic, iconic television shows that I haven't seen. I'm like, nope, you don't get to do that. That's mine. I call
yeah,
dibs.
yeah, and they're still there. So good. And now I can talk about it. Also, watch Twin Peaks, everyone. um, for Buffy the Vampire Slayer, it is a show that is a twist on the traditional horror premise that the this skinny blonde bimbo walks down a hallway and gets murdered by a slasher villain. Creator, director, writer Joss Whedon saw that and was like, I don't think I like that. And then so he twists that concept on its head and turns it into a show about power, uh, specifically female power. One of the most feminist programs ever to air on TV, and the bonds of friendship, family, all through the eyes of a female heroine named Buffy Summers, and she is a vampire slayer. But she's not just a kid who goes out and kills vampires. Like that's part of the show, but it's also a show about life and relationships and growing up. The structure of the show is mostly the education of Buffy Summers. The first three seasons are set in high school, so sophomore, junior, senior year, and then subsequent seasons are college and other interesting aspects that I will not give away here. But
Mhm.
there's a lot to the show. If you try to encapsulate the show in a single sentence, you cannot do it. Um, it's filled with so many good things, and it's not a perfect show. There are some episodes that are genuinely awful and kind of the worst things I've ever seen. Yeah, there are a couple episodes of Buffy that rank among the worst TV episodes of all time. But for every one of those, there are 10, maybe 20 of some of the best material ever written for TV. Joss Whedon is a fantastic writer, and he's gotten a lot of crap recently for the Black Widow stuff and Age of Ultron. I personally don't agree with those criticisms.
Nor do I.
But here, I think more people will find more to enjoy, even if they disagree with that instance over there. There, it touches on every type of female character. Just because Buffy is physically strong doesn't mean she's emotionally strong. But just because she bears a great burden, because she absolutely does, as a vampire slayer and a savior of a town, essentially, that doesn't make her a weak person. You know, she's just growing up. She's 16 by the time she starts slaying vampires. And specifically in this universe, vampire slayers are chosen by some higher power that you come to learn about as the show progresses for its wonderful, mostly wonderful 7 seasons. And they're imbued with some sort of super strength, some sort of benefited healing. Not quite Superman, but think like Captain America. Actually, yeah, that's it. Okay. Buffy Summers could be Captain America. And another fantastic element of the show are the villains. The villains are just so fun and totally Joss Whedon. Like Ultron fits perfectly. Ultron and Loki fit perfectly into the menagerie of Buffy Summerdale villains type, or Sunnydale. There you go. That's the town the show takes place in. Sunnydale, California, which does not exist, thankfully, because it is overrun with hell demons and vampires and zombies and just despicable things. But yes, the villains are just so fantastical, and they can be scary, but they can also be really funny. And those two traits are not always mutually exclusive. Sometimes they're combined. Like a personal favorite of mine is it's not a big spoiler, so don't worry. It's a character called the Mayor. He's more funny than threatening, but there are moments when you get a switch, and it's Joss Whedon knows how to handle these switch in emotional centers and characters, and it's so good. Every character grows. No character is the same from the first season to the last season, and in true Joss Whedon fashion, many of them die, and it is heartbreaking. The show probably has the single best encapsulation of what it is to experience loss in a person's life at some point later down the line of its run. It's beautiful, but also very tragic. And even though I'm a huge fan of his current movies and most of his programs, that single episode dealing with death is the most important thing he's ever done, and a contender for the single best episode of TV. So I like Buffy a lot. You should all watch it. I'll stop going on. Emily, you have not seen Buffy, is that correct?
That is correct. And actually, it's quite funny that you bring it up, because it was, I think, my junior year of college. One of my professors actually has some kind of Buffy the Vampire Slayer website, and she has written academic papers, and I think centered some portion of her own collegiate studies on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So I just remember, we'd be doing all these literary criticisms, and then she would walk us through all of her stuff about Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and none of us know what's going on, but we jive with it because she's really passionate about it. It definitely seems like one of those crazy cult favorite things that has just pervaded a lot of pop culture, and it's something that has interested me. Of course, I didn't know how many seasons it had been around, if it had just gone on forever, or if it was one of those short and sweet kind of Firefly things, but I've definitely been interested in it, and it's kind of broad scope wise something I think that would be really cool to get around to watching. So I would like to.
And you totally should.
That cue of mine, it's great.
Oh yeah, that thing is I'm so sorry for contributing to that. There's a couple things y'all need to know up front, though. It's very of the 90s when it starts. You gotta roll with it. I personally don't think the first season is very good until the end, where it turns into a nice little arc, and you're like, oh, wait a second, I like these characters. I really like them. I want to see them go on adventures and stuff. And you make it to season 2, the storytelling is improved, and then
Mhm.
something happens, and the show changes its thesis,
Hmm.
and it takes it to another level that I personally wasn't expecting because I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to finish after the first season. It's it does something remarkable and gives me. I have no problem recommending it to anybody. I just feel like I have to give this up front. I know plenty of people that thought my warnings were unfounded and they still enjoyed it. I know plenty of other people who thought, thanks for letting me know because I wouldn't have kept going otherwise. And some people who just
Yeah.
didn't do it at all and they're terrible people and they're bad and they should feel bad. Yeah, and then there are these little gimmicks episodes like uh, things that should be gimmicks but are actually to inform characters. Like there are episodes where people lose their voices, and then there's the classic Buffy musical episode, which is just an astounding feat for a TV show, like a full-on musical, like
Oh my
of the
gosh.
same quality as Little Shop of Horrors. Yeah,
Wow.
it's Buffy. Buffy is fantastic, and everyone should watch it 1,000 times. It's too long for me to do like a yearly rewatch, but I will go back and watch episodes every now and then because it's like
Mhm.
I like these guys, and I like these little adventures, and I like being
Yeah.
sad with them. I like being happy with them. I like being scared. It's a wonderful
Mhm.
experience. Yeah, that's my
Yeah.
Netflix pick of the week.
Very good. I think that's a nice way to encapsulate it. So I
Thank you very
will
much.
I will definitely add that one to my queue, and I vow to watch the at least the premiere of iZombie before next week because I want to start talking about that.
Oh, thank you. Yes,
So I'll
fantastic.
keep you
Then
posted.
yes, then you heard it here first. We'll be doing iZombie reviews for the season of the first episodes. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, and then next up, let's talk some Hannibal because I didn't watch the episode, but your quick thoughts on that. Spoiler free, I guess.
Oh, about the latest episode?
Yes.
It was, I think maybe it might be my favorite episode of the season so far, which of course, okay, we're 3 episodes in, so that's like, okay, we're talking upper 30%, but nonetheless, it was much more heavily focused on Will Graham this time around and some of his exploits as he's exploring the past of Hannibal and others who Hannibal has trapped in delusion. And it's such a crazy some crazy twists and turns that we get to see for Will that proves that he has very much learned from the best. I won't say what that means exactly,
Oh boy.
but it's quite my mind has just been boggling over it ever since. And it was an incredibly beautiful episode. A lot of it takes place in this dense forest land, and it feels like you've gone back several centuries. Um, and essentially, it takes place at this old manor that Hannibal's family occupied, or something to that effect. He's in Will Graham goes to Lithuania. I think is how you pronounce it. But yeah, so the setting was really gorgeous, and the surreal elements felt like this haunting kind of Victorian era horror story, or something very like a dark gothic horror romance thing. Just the atmosphere, I think, was one of my favorite aspects of the show, and I think is something that it's played with. Even managing to do so when they were back in Baltimore, but getting to go to this incredibly archaic setting, kind of spooky mansion style, is just a cool place to have these events transpire, and then to sort of see what both Hannibal and Will are doing as they are encircling one another. So I think it might be my favorite so far, and constitutes a really big turning point, and I think a ramping up point for everything else that's going to transpire in the season. Also, at the end of the episode, I will warn you, like the the 30-second promo that they have for tomorrow's episode, or Thursday, whenever this video's up, it has huge spoilers in it. So, like, as soon as the episode gets done, if you don't want to know anything, you'll just want to like immediately go off because they show some really big spoilers in the preview.
Oh,
But
fantastic.
they got me excited and scared and confused and anxious. So I mean, it's entirely your choice. But I felt a lot of very violent things at the end of that episode.
Oh, jeez. I don't even know what to make of that. And I'm scared and excited all at the same time.
Mhm.
So, classic Hannibal.
Yep. Yep. Oh,
Speaking of
man. Speaking
Hannibal, let's just get this out of the way. Hannibal is canceled, and life is pointless and meaningless, and love is dead.
Yep.
hmm
Yep.
I feel negatively about this. I lashed out at NBC originally. Like, I didn't send them angry tweets or anything because I'm an adult, but I was like, I feel like they could have done more, and I do think they could have done more. But I think that's always the case with these types of things. Like, you could have, like, I feel like Oscar Schindler at the end of Schindler's List, where it's like, oh, I could have sold my ring and saved like one more like that. Like, you could have given just one more promo. You could have given another commercial here. You could have premiered it in like the Chinese theater in Hollywood, but it is just a pipe dream now. I have a feeling it will be saved by Netflix, but that's still that's still just a guess. They've talked in the past about how Brian Fuller has had other offers in case anything happens, and they don't seem too worried from their Twitter stuff. There's not a lot of like sentimental stuff being sent out yet, and so maybe it's just me being blind and stupidly optimistic, but I think there's a little hope. Yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts on this cancellation? You put up a video on that as well. I recommend everyone go watch that. But off the cuff, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I very strongly believe that the show is going to turn up later on in some form or fashion. It's just so, I mean, it's heartbreaking to know that Brian Fuller has such a rich vision for the show, and he's not just going into this blind. He's laid out this incredible course, and I think everyone who adores the show want to see it come to full fruition. I would hate for such an incredibly gorgeous and phenomenal show to be put to such a quick end. There's got to be more. And this is, of all the shows out there, this is the show that deserves to end on its own terms in the way that everyone who has been a part of this wants, in the way that all of us want. And what Brian Fuller has been saying is that his plan for season 4, and he's still speaking prospectively, not in the past tense, but in terms of like, this is what I want to do. He says that season 4 may very well be his favorite yet, which to me indicates that there is something, it's so close to being tangible, and there's got to be somebody out there who sees that and believes in that. Of course, the concern is that, like, I don't know if it's been through NBC, but Hannibal has gotten a lot of international support. And there was, I guess, like some studio or something somewhere in France kind of made a big push to get this 3rd season made. And in fact, this season might not have happened without that support. So the question is, how are those relationships going to be fostered? Or, you know, who is going to be there and present to like help keep the production flowing? But I've definitely joined the masses in contacting Netflix. And what I have heard though is that technically Amazon has a deal to stream the first 3 seasons of Hannibal. And Brian Fuller released a statement, I don't know if it was today, semi-recently, that they have that deal, which would make it easier for them to potentially go forward with Amazon, but Netflix is also a very viable option. And I would love to see it go to Netflix personally, because they have, I'm the most strongly invested in their content, and I think it's of such a high quality, especially as was evidenced with like Daredevil and stuff like that. So they have my confidence and my vote, and I would be incandescently happy to see Hannibal go there, and to be available to the fan community in that way. But I believe so strongly in this show and its power and just all the love and support that's gone into it, that I can't believe that this is the end. It's not going to end with NBC. No, sorry. I will not have it. I will not. So I don't know if I'm going through like the denial stage of mourning, where I'm just waiting for the next. I'm waiting for somebody to be like, "Yep, got it."
We're doing it. I am too.
I so am, because it's too good. I'm so I'm so upset.
It's too good and too pure for this world.
Yes,
that's it. Yeah,
and it has like this. It's such a gift, and
it really is.
Yeah, and it doesn't even just feel like television. It's so much more than that. When I sit down for an episode of Hannibal, I'm going to church. I'm going out for the full course meal. Like, I am just mind, soul, and body getting like enveloped in this alternate world. And that to me would just be, it would be such a tragedy to see it have to end. But I am at least glad that we know this early on into the season, because, well, number one, we get to enjoy 10 more episodes and to be able to all be together and passionate about this till the end. I say that in quotes because I don't believe it's over. But yeah, so it's good to have that and to know, so we know how to kind of emotionally brace ourselves for whatever's going to happen at the end of this season. And then it also gives some extra time for a potential deal to be worked out with another network, and for there to perhaps be less time between the possible resurrections. So I'm just off in La La Land, like, no, it's not gonna die.
I mean, never dies. I don't think you're too far off, though. I think this has a very real possibility of being picked up. Mm-hmm. You know, if Community can be picked up by Yahoo Screen, which I still haven't seen the new season of Community yet,
yeah,
because I've heard the Yahoo player is frankly god awful. Yeah. There's every possibility for Hannibal to be picked up. And yeah, I forgot, Amazon Prime is where they streamed the previous 2 seasons so far.
Yeah.
So it'll probably end up there too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how I feel about that, because I don't have Amazon Prime.
Mm-hmm.
I have Netflix. Please go to Netflix.
I know. Netflix is so pervasive in terms of streaming software, so it would give the broadest cross-section of viewers the opportunity to see it. Like my family happens to have Amazon Prime. I used to have student Amazon Prime, and then I became a not student. So now I mooch off of the familial account, but it still bothers me. I hate just how many different services you have to subscribe to in order to get everything. But yeah, I feel like it would be so cool to see Netflix step in, and I would be very happy.
As would we all. Yeah. On that note, I guess let's just hope for the best. We'll continuing on both of our channels talking about Hannibal, but we will also be talking about our next topic, True Detective, which just started its 2nd season. Yes. It opened to very mixed reviews, actually, and I think part of that's to be expected, because people like to hate things that are popular. But also, I don't think they're all wrong.
Right.
Like, I tweeted out my first reaction after the True Detective premiere. After I finally saw it, and I was like, maybe.
Yes, and I liked that tweet because I was also like, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll do my quick thoughts really quickly. The show's opening and new intro, people have been trashing it. I really like it.
Yeah.
It's been growing on me a lot. And I've been listening to both of them back to back. I was like, oh, these are really good intros. These are really good intros. Like, they really set the stage for the show, and
Yeah.
it's a credit to True Detective. It still has a good atmosphere. It
Mm-hmm.
misses Carrie Fukunaga severely.
Yeah.
Justin Lin totally proves that he could genre hop. Like, he can do more than just be the Fast and Furious guy. Like, this feels like a totally different director from those movies. So
Yeah.
this is more movie stuff too. But he's doing the new Star Trek. I think it starts
Mm.
shooting like in a month or so,
Oh,
and
wow.
so I'm like, oh yes, good. He's got this. He's got this. I have faith
Mm-hmm.
now. All right. The actors, Vince Vaughn, I think is really trying hard, and I don't think he's doing a bad job. I just think
Right.
it's noticeable that he's trying because he really wants to nail this, and I'm rooting for him because it's like I like rooting for the underdogs, and I feel like he wants to
Mm-hmm.
get out of that niche comedy that has not been serving him well over the last decade anymore.
Yeah.
Rachel McAdams, I thought kicked ass, even though she had nothing to
Mm-hmm.
do really. Just like this is her, and she's tortured and dark and depressed,
Right.
and she did something weird to a dude, or wanted to do something weird to a dude when she was gonna have sex with him. So I'm like,
Yeah.
oh great,
Okay.
yeah. I was like, I don't. I'm sure that'll inform something about her character later. But like at
Right.
first, I was like, oh okay. Did she want to do like butt stuff? I don't know. I don't know. Rachel McAdams, it was really
Yeah.
good though. And then Colin Farrell, I think, is MVP. But I think he also had the most to do in the episode. Like,
Oh, yes, he did.
I rooted for him, and then I hated him, and then I kind of felt bad for him, like all at the same time. Colin Farrell is awesome, but that is a great role he's playing
Mm-hmm.
as that detective Ray Volcoro. Haha,
Yes.
I had
Ray
him.
Velcro is what I'm going to call him.
That's a lot simpler. I will take that. Yes, Ray Velcro. And then Taylor Kitsch, who gets a bad rap for that time Hollywood tried to make him a thing as a movie star. He was good. I thought he was good.
Mhm.
I think the big problem was that Hollywood tried to make him a thing, and
Yep.
sometimes the system chews people up and spits them back out because it just doesn't agree with them. I think he's a good supporting actor, and I'd like to see him continue doing more stuff like this. Like, he's capable. Like, hopefully, if this season of True Detective ends up utterly failing, I at least want people to recognize that Vince Vaughn and Taylor Kitsch are worthy actors and deserve more than they're given credit for.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, let's just talk about the rest of the episode then. What were your thoughts on the weird structure of it?
Yeah, so I think the thing that I struggled with the most with this premiere, of course, was all the setting up that it had to do, because it seemed very anxious to have all the ducks in a row by the end of the episode and to have everyone converge together and meet and say, oh, I'm so and so, I'm so and so, so da-da, and then now we get to see what the show is actually going to be, because I don't feel like this premiere gives us an accurate reading on what the season itself is going to be like. So I found it very annoying that people were so ready to be so negative, because when you look at what happened in the episode, it's giving us, like I said earlier, just snapshots of a lot of very unhappy people. And now all of that unhappiness is clouding around this dead body that's been found. And I think that from here on out, things are going to get very interesting, and that this is going, they're tied to this case is going to become a powder keg of a lot of drama and interesting things, because we see all these people coming from disparate places, and we still don't fully understand who all of them are even. So the fact that they're all like already kind of thrown in together is going to be interesting, because we're going to be learning about these characters' past and who they're becoming with each other, which is going to be, a bit of trapeze work, I think. But if the first season is any indication of the quality of the writing, I think it's feasible that over the course of a season, we can really see these cool relationships and struggles emerge. But yeah, so it was definitely very, very grim, dark premiere, and people are upset and dealing with stuff. And I mean, it was kind of funny how the nature of their all coming together for some was kind of random. Like what was going on with Rachel McAdams' character, like she was looking for some chick that went missing, and then she just got called into this, so it's not like everything perfectly led up to this moment. But at the same time, it's not, I don't think they're trying to set it up like, oh, it's this big destiny thing. It's all these very, very different people who I think we're going to find a common fabric in all of them as stuff goes on. But yeah, I especially, of course, loved Colin Farrell's performance because, whoa, man, did he have a hell of a lot to work with, and did he get it done? Not to mention that mustache is
Oh my god,
killer. The
that
mustache is a character itself. That's going to be Velcro.
There's a Twitter account for Colin Farrell's mustache, so that's how you know it's legit.
Oh, it was bound to happen. Yeah, because it and what I found interesting too was the scene where he's talking with the lawyer about getting more visitation with his son, who looks absolutely nothing like him. So we know there's a little bit of brouhaha in the background there, but it kind of reminded me of those interrogation scenes from last season, which I think they might be trying to be like, hey, remember all our fun talks with Rust Cole?
Yeah. I mean, he's sort of the new Rust Cole, but like meaner, because Rust was a good person who just was in a he did bad stuff, but he cared about people, and he wasn't all there all the time, and he was in a dark world. And I do like the cosmic horror feel of True Detective, and how it is like essentially gothic noir mystery type stuff. And I remember Nick Pizzolatto, I believe is the creator's name is, who was saying, oh, this year we're going to drop the occult stuff after all. And I was like, oh, that's kind of a bummer. I mean, it's fine, because I think a lot of people misinterpreted it as being something like Lovecraft, and they're actually being like revelations of Cthulhu or something like that.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, some people were complaining that it didn't go that route. I'm like, no. It's just good literature, you know?
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I get it, sure. I mean, I love some good old LA noir type stuff. Chinatown's like one of my favorite movies. And then this episode has like a naked Barbie doll or something, like surrounded in milk, hobbling in and out. And I was like, that's weird. And then there's like a dead dude in the back of a car with like a stuffed owl and the pan in on the owl. And I'm like,
yeah, that was really weird. Like, it was a very strange shot, but it immediately kind of gave me the sense of like, okay, we're in True Detective land now.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, everyone needs to give credit to this episode for being pretty fucking weird. You know, like I thought, like, okay, it's gonna be more straight and narrow type mystery stuff with darker, disturbing elements, like True Detective stuff, but without the occult. No, they did. There's no way they dropped the occult stuff. I think that was just him talking out of his butt. Very smart butt, have you? But there's like no way that stuff was like the nightmares. That's the stuff nightmares made of, and of course, classic True Detective. I'm not a fan of the structure of the episode. I see what they're trying to do, introducing us to all these characters and showing us their lives, but I don't think they succeeded, and I don't think there was enough of them. Like I kind of wish. I mean, maybe it'll all play out better by the season's end, and I'm willing to give it that opportunity, because plenty of shows have won me over like that. I was hoping that each episode would focus on a single character for the first half, and then by the end of that, they all come together. I think if each episode was allowed to be like an anthology piece in itself, and then all connect, that I think maybe that would have been more successful.
Yeah, I completely agree, actually, because I could even feel as a viewer just sitting there trying to absorb all this information. I could feel the swiftness. Like at some points in the episode, it would be switching like every 30 seconds to the other character. And it's like, okay, slow down. I'm trying to figure out what's going on with them. Like, what are they thinking? How are they reacting to things? You know, like I'm trying to grasp for straws, and they're like, let's go over here. Let's go over here. Oh, look, there's him. And it's like, you know, I don't personally have an ADHD experience with the show where it's like, oh man, I'm waiting for the next scene. Come on, chop, chop. You know, I want to bask in what I'm being shown and bask in these characters, because that's what's going to make them meaningful and what's going to make it really impactful when they all kind of come together. So they wanted to get them together right off the bat. which to me is like, all right, good luck.
Yeah.
That's not to be like discouraging, but really I'm just hoping that from here on out they're not going to have the same frantic, feverish, like, oh, we have to be in everybody's face at any given time. Which, and I mean, it's a tough transition going from like the sort of anti buddy cop dynamic that we had with the two leads last season and then doubling that this time around. So that in and of itself is, I think, a shift for us. But they can do it if they just calm down a little bit. You know, savor, and don't rip roar around too much. But
Yeah, like I want to get to know these characters. I think it's a good moment when they do all come together. Classic noir stuff, like coincidence binds everything. Like, oh, how do you like? Really, all of noir is just like, and then this happened, and then this happened. You know, like to do a successful noir, I think you have to break every storytelling rule in the book, and they're kind of doing that, but they're like not doing it enough.
Right.
Like they're kind of 50-50 in it, I guess. But yeah, the moment they all meet up, when Taylor Kitsch's character discovers the body with the dead owl and apparently some sort of massive groin destruction or whatever they said. Like I'm like 100% sure his genitals are gone. That's a good moment. The camera, they all introduce each other to each other, and then the camera just sort of swings around each of their faces, and then it does that major long shot out onto the California coastline. I was like, hey, I know that place.
I know.
There's no dead people there, but I know it. I mean, there's not now, I assume. I mean, maybe there is, and that's bad. But yeah, no, I thought that was a good ending to not mediocre, just like odd episode. There you go. I guess that's the thing, because I did like this. It's just like odd. It's odd.
Yeah,
I can't get a grasp on anything yet.
Right, and I think part of that is the incessant moving around and, you know, just sort of spinning on this dial, and we're swiveling around and just kind of watching everybody spin in circles, and I just sort of want to really spend time with somebody, and to get to do that, which I hope is what the rest of the season is going to set out to do. But I certainly don't think it was a bad premiere. I don't think it necessarily warrants like all the hate that people have been trying to spew at it. Because again, it's a little too early in the game to tell, and clearly they were wanting to set everything up to what's really going to get rolling, I think. So, yeah, I am still optimistic that things are going to continue to be interesting in a way that's maybe more enjoyable. But I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so odd episode. Interested to see where it goes.
Yeah.
Hoping the season ties together cohesively, narrative-wise.
Yeah.
And that about covers everything for today.
I think so.
Emily, you can go ahead and tell people where they can find you.
Sure. So, of course, my YouTube channel, like I mentioned before, is Mighty Sophia, and that is also my Twitter handle and my public Facebook page. So those are kind of my three main digs, and yeah, lots of TV stuff and whatever else.
All right, and you, of course, find me at Dig Waffles on Twitter, at The Waffle Press. Subscribe to the video if you like this, and check out other podcast episodes that I have down below, and lots of other podcasts we have going on right now. Next week, I believe we're talking a little bit of E3, a little late in the game, but lots of cool video game stuff for the Waffle Press movie podcast. We'll tie it together somehow. I don't know yet, but we'll tie it together. And check out my reviews, audienceeverywhere.net, all that jazz. This has been the Waffle Press podcast. Thanks for listening. We have been professionally unprofessional.